Welcome to an all-new episode of Galactic Review. We are here to break down episode 5 of Kenobi. We are so close to the finish line, only a calendar week away. I am glad to be breaking down episode 5 with some of the smartest minds across the galaxy. Starting off with Didge. What's up, Didge?
What's up, guys? Ready to get into this. It's sad that we're almost at the end, though.
Yep, we're almost there. Next up, Blake. What's up, Blake?
Nothing much. I am excited to get into this episode.
A lot to get into. Trevon, what's up, Trevon?
Yes, let's get into it. Let's get into this.
Absolutely. And Joel, we are starting off with you. What's going on?
I am exhausted, man. I woke up at 3:30 to watch both of these shows. So.
Oof.
And I haven't slept much.
Oof.
To avoid spoilers, I did that.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
That's rough.
Me and Pete talk about it all the time. Like, it's not easy, man. It's a chore. It's a chore. There's a whole rest of the day you have, right? Where you have to
yeah, but I was at work, so it sucked. I couldn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I tried to. My body just gave out a couple times, so I was sitting at there. But.
But all right, Joel, lead us off, man. Walk us through your thoughts. You weren't in the episode.
I was in it. I was physically there.
Joel was the droid. But no, walk us through your thoughts.
The big droid. I was that guy.
And you know what? It wasn't Joel being shot out of function. He just fell asleep on them.
Yeah,
on Tyler. He was exhausted. He's right on her.
I'll be back.
Walk us through your thoughts on this episode.
It was good. It was very good. I thought it was one of the better episodes we've gotten. Again, more of like Obi-Wan doing his thing, and like Vader. Like, wow, there was some like iconic Vader moments in this show. This episode specifically because like I didn't see it coming. I was like, I did not know they were going to go that far. A couple times they explained a lot of things that were. Like we were questioning, like at least I was questioning, like Riva's intentions and her motives, and we got a little bit more behind the scenes of that. We finally got a flashback, and maybe not the flashback we wanted, but we got a flashback that made sense for the story. Even though I will say that they could have touched up Anakin a little bit more to look a little younger.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. That
he
looks exactly like how he do right now.
He looks good, but like he doesn't look like I remember what he looked like at 18 and whatever. Like, he looked like that. At least he was the same height. He like height-wise, he wasn't very different. But you get me. That was a cool duel. Either way, it's still really cool to go back to that moment when they were at the youth, and he was the Padawan, and Obi-Wan is the master, and that again the hot-headedness of the Anakin at the time translates to the hot-headedness of Vader now, and I just thought that was a great parallel. But like I just thought overall it was just a very action-packed and informative episode, and I just wonder how it's going to end, especially if it's really going to be as long as they're saying it's going to be. So like. We'll see, because I thought this episode was really good.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to start by saying this, Trevon. You owe Disney an apology, Mister. I wonder if they're ever gonna go super violent, like it's Disney. Do they ever do that? Anakin stabbed a whole 10-year-old. He stabbed a full-on 10-year-old.
And not just one. There were multiple that
he slashed them, but it was kind of off screen.
No. Time out. Let me be very specific here. Here's the reason why you got to give Disney credit. George didn't even show the shit. He showed the kids extend their lightsabers. Anakin extended his. End of scene. This showed him plunge a lightsaber right through her, and then you saw him mulling down the one or two of the other kids. That was Disney that did that, Trevon. George Lucas didn't even do that in Revenge of the Sith. I'm just saying. When you get to your turn, you owe Disney an apology. I did want to. I'm just saying, even if you don't give it, I just want you to refrain from assuming Disney won't go there in the future. They just did it. That's all I'm saying. You keep saying, they stabbed a 10-year-old. Where else do you see that, Trevon?
There's some very good editing, good cutting, so they didn't have to show it.
I'm sorry, Trevon. They did not show him.
To see the little corpse split in half.
A child's head. Goodness gracious.
Jesus Christ.
What did you want? I don't understand.
I told you what he wants. He wants to see the little libs fly.
Goodness gracious. But anyway, so I want to get into this while I have you, Joel. So the few things, first of all, let me start off. And Didge, I know you're with me. Y'all gonna stop stealing Starkiller's whole steez without inducting Starkiller into canon.
I was just replaying The Force Unleashed like 2 days ago.
Come on, dog. That's his whole steez. Stopping a full-on Star Destroyer. That's Starkiller's steez.
He tweeted about it too.
Hell yeah, I bet he did.
But it would make sense that he would. If anybody would do it, it makes sense that they made Vader do it.
100%.
You learned it from someone, right?
100%. I do want to say though, one of the things that did stand out to me, Joel, that I wanted to bring up was just again, we talked about it, touching up on Anakin a little bit, especially because that training took place even before Attack of the Clones, so he was younger.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
So I'm like, he was even younger.
That was Attack of the Clones,
right? And then you didn't necessarily
Luke in The Mandalorian.
Right. And then you didn't necessarily do the best when you went to the throne room of Anakin and Revenge of the Sith. You didn't do any better there, right? Yeah. Like, it looked like you shot those two scenes the exact same moment, right? Yeah. Like, you finished with one and then said, don't even fix nothing. Jump right into put a hood on. Put a hood on.
I would have lived with it because he had the hood on, but yeah, it's definitely still noticeable.
It's very noticeable. Very. But again, when I bring this up, this is more tongue-in-cheek. This wasn't my issues with the episode, was the look of them. That's small things. But I do always like seeing the Attack of the Clones lightsaber, because that's the lightsaber Vader has now. So anytime I see Anakin with his Attack of the Clones lightsaber, I get very giddy. But the biggest thing that stood out to me, Joel, was when Vader acknowledged that he knew she was the youngling.
The whole time?
Yeah, I don't like that, because it's like, you're essentially telling me you were waiting 10 years to see if she would prove worthy enough or significant enough. That's a long-ass time to play something out. That means you knew she survived the temple, which again is a no-no for Vader. You let her slide this entire time, and now she's proved to be useful.
I mean, you technically let her live again. He killed her the same way, and she didn't die the first time, but you let her do it again.
That also bothered me, because I'm like, I really thought we were getting a Dooku moment again, right? Had both the lightsabers right in front of the neck.
I mean,
fashion.
I respected him giving her the lightsaber, giving her chance. There's something about her he likes, obviously, but I'm still confused as to why would you continue to let her live, considering she wants your head, you know. And
even Kenobi said it, like, you know, he's Anakin. That isn't something I assume he would want anyone to know.
Right.
So it's like when Vader's just like, not only do I know you know who I am, I'm gonna just stab you a little bit. I think you died. Like, you made that mistake 10 years ago. Like,
she was a little girl.
Right.
With no training.
Like, if she survived then, why would you think she wouldn't survive now? Like, what the hell?
It was the same way. I'm like,
yeah.
He probably has a hole there. I mean,
it never healed.
You stabbed right back through the same hole. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, she's real life. She's real life Swiss cheese. So that bothered me. And then the other thing, the biggest other thing that bothered me was, I know a lot of people were complaining, like, oh, you know, when what's his name dropped the little voicemail thing that Organa left, like, he should have deleted it. I don't have a problem with him not deleting it. You're in the middle of war, right? You're not really thinking.
Right.
My issue comes with the fact that if Reva goes to go find Luke, I have a massive problem with that, right? Because when you watch Rebels, look how far out Kenobi came to stop Maul. That was a long way from where Luke was. And Obi-Wan said, there's no fucking way I'm letting you get any closer to Luke, right? So when he's sitting in the ship and he feels the disturbance and goes, maybe it's nothing, I'm sorry, what? Maybe it's nothing?
Oh, I assume that he didn't. I assume that he just didn't want to worry everybody else on the ship at that time.
I think there could have been a narratively better way to convey that he still knows that something's wrong, rather than it seeming like he dismissed it.
He still looked very troubled.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like he was like, oh, it's nothing, and like he's all jovial. Like he looked very troubled at the end of it. I understand what you're saying. But it's just one of those things where they just went through a very harrowing experience. Like they went through basically hell. And why would you want to just rile up everybody else again? Is how I sort of took it.
Yeah, but remember, they don't give a fuck about Luke. They don't know who Luke is. So you're not worrying them. That response was more so for just Kenobi. Even Leia doesn't even know who Luke is. So they would have said, okay, Luke, sure. Like, I don't know who the fuck
but
that
it's
is.
still that thing of like, there's something wrong. That just saying nothing. It's like, all right, there's nothing to worry about. Even if they don't know who this is, they're like, just knowing that there's something else to worry about. I feel like you wouldn't want to do in the middle of an escape.
Well, they're about to worry about the biggest fucking problem. He just told Kenobi, we can't hyper jump.
That is also true.
So I'm pretty sure when you go, hey, we're about to be slaughtered by Vader, and hey, there's a little kid who might be murdered. They're gonna go, well, I'm more worried about the immediate. Like
that's very fair.
What about now? So that's why I'm like,
what about me?
Yeah, me. I'm stuck here. Fuck Luke, he's safe somewhere. Like me. So I'm just hoping that this does not pan out to Reva because she could not defeat Vader. She decides she'll extract her revenge on Kenobi, and goes to try to take out Luke as a way to kind of hurt Kenobi for everything she went through. Because I'm like, you essentially just did that with Maul in Rebels. Like I don't really need to see you play that out again with Reva. You know what I'm saying? And again, without me even seeing episode 6, Maul's was way more poetic than whatever you're about to do with Reva, if that's where they go. So to me, I'm very curious about that because I already see people on Twitter like, what was that the moment where like Luke felt the Force? Do not do that.
Oh, of course.
Do not do that. Do not do that because they were wondering like why they held on to it as long as they did, like when they showed him sleeping. Like maybe something awoke in him, and I'm like, don't.
I heard that wrong. I'm like, wait,
yeah, no.
I heard Obi-Wan.
Yeah, no, don't do that to Luke at all. Don't do that. But again, the choreography between Vader and Reva was probably some of the best choreography out of everything Star Wars, minus obviously the fight in Mustafar. It was just poetic. And Didge, we talked about this last week where it just seemed like maybe they didn't fully understand Vader. Well, they brought in a new writer for this specific episode alongside their permanent showrunner writer. He understands Vader.
He understood Vader a lot.
And here's why he understands Vader. Vader felt like she was so beneath him, he never grabbed for his own lightsaber.
No.
He said, I'll take yours.
He barely swung at her. Even when he was swinging at her, it was more of a, you're a nuisance. Just get out of my way.
Yeah. He definitely was just like, hey, you mean nothing, and how can I show this? I know. I'll barely even move. Right? He essentially was dancing in a circle.
I've never thought there was Force Kundo until today. I was like, that's some shit.
Yeah, I saw somebody call him It Man.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about Vader's fluidity in this episode is it's almost impossible to fully show how fluid Vader can be in live action. Because in the comics, his arms can expand a lot longer than the movies would have you believe.
I know, it's like little things like that.
I don't know how you show that.
Comics.
I'm not knocking it.
I'm just saying.
I know it's because even Hayden was actually the stunt double for Hayden was saying that the close-up shots of Vader is Hayden. The faraway shots are the stunt doubles, like for the fights and stuff like that. Those are the stunt doubles. And Hayden was saying in a recent interview, it's a lot. Like that suit's a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they don't make it easier for you. That shit's fucking hefty.
Well, because you have to make it look physically imposing.
100%.
And it's tough. Like obviously, in a comic or any other medium, you can portray that and still have the fluidity of it. But for this, you have for it to be physically imposing. It has to probably be heavy.
Right. Which I completely get. That's why a lot of people that were like, oh, I didn't really like his. I'm like, that's the best you're gonna get out of a live action Vader, right? How he moved there is really the best you're ever gonna get it. Because you can't decrease the suit to make him seem more flexible, because then you're just shitting on the whole point of he just has to walk and people are just like, oh shit, right?
Well,
Like,
also, I think some people also forget that like he lost his arm and his legs, so half of that's robotic too.
True.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's only so much you can do, and like like you see like the arm movements and stuff like that, but like half of his body is like robotic and mechanical, so it's like
it makes sense why he moves the way he does.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like if you take away from that, it's like, all right, that's the thing. Like when he's wearing the suit,
they
you
still have
forget all that.
Yeah, that is true. That is
in
true.
the comics, man.
He is
you will
a
forget.
motherfucker.
You will forget that in the comics.
Well, it's comics. Anything can go. Like
that's
different.
And the last thing I will say that bothered me a bit was the way you structured this episode. Felt like this is where it should end for Kenobi and Vader until 10 years from now when they meet again, right? Because this seemed like the ultimate schooling, right? Where Kenobi was just like, I again played on your emotions. You were so eager to stop us that you allowed your anger to blind you of the fact that there was a whole decoy right fucking behind it. Like, not like a mile away, not like a whole nother station away. Literally,
you could
right
literally see it in the shot. As soon as he opened it,
you could see it right behind
you could see it as he's pulling the first one down.
Right.
Like, I know that was something that a lot of people on Twitter were like, oh, how did nobody see it? And it's like, if you look to the right side of the screen, it's there.
Are you talking about like when he pulled the ship, like stopped the ship?
Yeah. You can always see the second one in the shot.
Yeah. I didn't have any issues with that. I'm just saying the way you structured this episode felt very, this is how.
Yeah,
we were
saying, I do agree with that.
How do you narratively structure this story to where it doesn't retcon, 4, right? The way you structured this episode, you should leave it like that, because now it lets you know Vader has spent 10 years perfecting himself, so he does not allow his anger to cloud his judgment again, right? So to me, I was kind of hoping he maybe did that, but we'll see where that goes. But I did enjoy seeing those two spar, because it highlights something that a lot of people don't really highlight with Star Wars, is that Kenobi was always trained in the art of defense, right? It's why when you see him fight, it's always defensive. Anakin always taught himself in a more aggressive approach. He's always, I'll go aggressive. I don't do defense, right? So when he's fighting Count Dooku, there is no defense there. It's pure aggression. It's why he was able to just overpower Dooku in that moment. So I always love to see the difference between the two, to where Obi-Wan's just like, I'm just trying to diffuse it, and Anakin's like, oh, diffuse it. I was just trying to take his head off. Is that not what we're doing? No? Oh, okay. I thought that was our whole thing. So I very much appreciated the poetry of a lot of this, but I got to see how they stick the landing for 6, because just a few things still are just like, I got to see how you close it off, especially if you're talking about doing a whole nother season.
Oh,
well,
I got to see how you close this off.
Murmurs, yes.
Right, but I'm saying, even if those murmurs turn out to be false, I still got to see episode 6. And if they turn out to be true,
I definitely want more. But I'm pretty happy in my bubble that I got with this show. I got what I wanted, and I'm good.
To me, end it here, and then allow Ahsoka to do all those rich flashbacks that we want of the Clone Wars and her and Anakin spending time together and stuff like that. Just close this book here. Right, just like that.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Well, I mean, apparently Filoni's writing the Ahsoka series, so the likelihood that we don't get flashbacks of Anakin, Rex,
don't let me down. Dave Filoni, don't let me down.
It seems highly unlikely. But I want to go to you, Sabrina, because we've all been waiting. We've been waiting to hear your thoughts on this episode. So go ahead, walk us through your thoughts on episode 5.
So I have so many thoughts, but I also don't have any thoughts at the same time, because it's like I'm still in shock that it opened like that, and like somebody like because like when I like tweeted like one of the like screenshots from the episode, someone like made such a good point that like they opened it like it was nothing, like it was like no big deal, and I'm like, huh? I literally the second I like saw like, a little bit of his back, I was like, oh no, I was like no way, I was like no way, and honestly like I know a lot of like every episode I kept getting it, and I even kept saying to Blake, I was like, if I got like just one little flashback, if they kept that one thing, I would have been happy, but the fact that they kind of did it in Anakin's point of view was even more perfect, because it's like we're constantly seeing like Obi-Wan and his, you know, everything he's dealing with, but we don't really see it from Anakin's point of view. Right. Like having those flashbacks and still like eating at everything, like it reminded me a lot of like I posted a panel of like one of the from Darth Vader comics where like he found the necklace he gave Padme and like he had like a flashback of her, and like that's the kind of stuff that like I've always like wanted to see, so it's like that was perfect.
I also just still want to see. I want to see it portrayed in live action, like if we got a Vader series, of how much he obsessed over how Kenobi was able to defeat Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Right? And it's what led to the Mustafar moment, to where he just swore he wouldn't go down that way. And that's exactly how he went down, right? Like he had studied it so much to where he's just like, I'll never allow that to happen to me. And then he did exactly what Darth Maul did in that moment, allowed his emotions to cloud him. And Kenobi was just like, I'm always smarter than you guys. Why no one understands that, I'll never get it. But I'm smarter than you. And
yeah, because like
took out Maul, took out Anakin, same way.
Well, yeah, because like Anakin's not, you know, thinking with like, you know, his brain. Like he's just thinking with like his anger, and like letting that kind of cloud his judgment. Like, and it's been like that since day one.
Yep.
So it's, and like you just see it worse and worse as time goes on, and like even as like obviously you see that with like before he turns, but like even when he's turning, like he's still like when he fully embraced his anger and hatred. Like I was saying in one of the I think what was it episode 3 when he's like suiting up, you see before the helmet goes on, like that one look of anger on his face, on like Hayden's face, I was like, that is perfect, because like you don't really see that. Like I don't think we've really seen like his like the full rage in his eyes. Like it was like a 2-second thing before the helmet went on, and I was like, that was perfectly done.
And like I think the biggest thing this episode also showcased that, you know, I hope conveyed to a lot of the audience, is that right now, as much as it's hard to believe, he's still very much Anakin.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to show you is right now, during this time, he's still Anakin. And what he means by in episode 4, that, you know, I was, you know, once the learner, now I'm the master, is he's completely was able to block Anakin out to about like a small 5% of him, right? So like he was able to fully master everything, emotions, thoughts, everything.
Like
right?
I think
so. It was the progression of Vader at that point, because right now, what Obi-Wan just did, Obi-Wan couldn't have done to Vader 10 years from now.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
He could do it now because he's still Anakin. He's still susceptible to letting his emotions overtake him. Right? He's still blinded by it. When we get to A New Hope, that's gone. That's why when he fought him, there was nothing going to stop Vader from killing Kenobi in that moment. Nothing. Right? So I do appreciate that they showed the progression of that he's still hanging on to Anakin. It's not gone yet, right?
Yeah.
I appreciated
that I love, and just like throughout every episode, like especially when they're dueling, and like, you know, when he kind of gets when Anakin gets the upper hand, and he's like, just a minute, like, master, you're like, you lost, and like seeing like him with Reva, like the confidence, because like Obi-Wan was like not criticizing him, but kind of giving him like, you know, like the feedback that he's like, you're too aggressive and everything, and that's gonna be like your downfall. And like when it goes to like modern day, and like seeing how much more confident he is, and like not only like his abilities, but like just with the Force like itself, it's just amazing. And they kept like trying to think. I was gonna say, you know what I mean, though.
I know what you mean.
It was like so perfectly done, though. They kept like just showing, like, seeing that confidence. It was just like that's Vader in his prime, and like that's what I wanted to see. Like, yeah, it's like the ruthlessness and everything, but like the confidence that like he knows, like. Even, like, when he got both lightsabers, and, like, he literally just kicked her, got both lightsabers, and, like, was, like, threw one at her, and he's like, all right, let's go. Like, gave her a fair shot, because he could just been like that and like it would have been over. But like,
and also because I did hear a few people saying this on Twitter that I guess just didn't know, Inquisitor's lightsabers are meant to detach. So a lot of people are like, if you broke it, how was she still able to? They're meant to detach.
Oh yeah,
it's like
a glow stick.
Right. Yeah, he didn't snap the whole lightsaber in half.
Yeah,
and still
and
able
like
to
the
wield
way it looks, it kind of does look like that. But like, I think because like in Rebels you really see the Inquisitor lightsabers, but like we haven't really seen that like in live action. So I think it's also like people were like forgot that too, and they're like, oh no, did he just snap it? That's like I kind of forgot that too for a moment, and I thought he snapped it, and I was like, huh?
Yeah, because the way the crystals work, you would assume it would explode.
Yeah.
If you exposed it like that. So that's why I'm like, and what also helps me in that is they released the figures for Reva, like the pre-orders, and part of her figure set is those lightsabers in half. Like they're their own separate things that she can
Oh my god, really?
hands. Yeah. So I'm like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You can detach it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, that makes sense.
I like always seeing like different forms of like lightsabers where it's like a double-sided blade, everything.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just like kind of adds to the whole different types of hilts for lightsabers, which is cool to see.
So
like,
before I pass it to Blake, Sabrina, I do want to ask you this. Do you kind of feel like, and it doesn't have to be this series, just whether it's Ahsoka series, whatever going forward, do you kind of feel like you're a little bit tired of the narrative seeming like there's only one Jedi in the galaxy per storyline? Like this episode showed a crate full of Jedi robes and lightsabers, and it's like, but we know one current Jedi outside of Kenobi is alive. I want to see him. And again, it doesn't have to be in this series. I just want to see the next time I get another series with a Jedi, it's more than one Jedi, because there isn't just one Jedi in each of these stories that you're telling.
That like, so like I remember like hearing like all these like rumors and like things like that, like certain people were gonna show up. Like I know a lot of people were like at like my job were saying that like Cal Kestis could show up and everything, and I was like, nice. Maybe, yeah. Like I thought when
but wait, really quick, that would have been hilarious if when Kenobi swam into the Inquisitor base, like he just looks over and Cal Kestis is swimming right next to him, like, who the fuck are you?
Sorry, I gotta go to the game.
He's like, oh, I'm here for Vader. I'm here for Vader. It's like, well.
That would have actually been perfect, but no, but yeah, I think it's not only to kind of like strongly still stay with the narrative that there's really like all the Jedi should stay hidden, because like Obi-Wan has before, going on this mission to save Leia and like, confronting Vader and like finding out Anakin's alive and all that. So I think like that part's okay. Like I would be fine either way. Like even if we saw like some Jedi cameos, like that's cool. But I also kind of like that it doesn't have to focus on just cameos and like all these, this and that, to kind of, because it's like Obi-Wan's story. So like I don't want him to get like I feel bad. I always say this to Blake. Like I feel bad about Boba Fett, like how he got outshined by every other character, and not that like Obi-Wan would do that, like because it's Obi-Wan, but you don't want any character to kind of like take away that focus that what the show's about.
I would agree if it's a completely new character, right? Because to me, people were, before we saw Din, people were already complaining they didn't like the show of Book of Boba. So I'm like, you already don't like Boba. Then they do things you do like, and you're like, well, now you're not showing enough Boba. But it's like, but the Boba they showed you didn't like. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I agree that we don't need useless cameos. But like Taika just said in an interview, when you keep doing it this small, it makes it seem like the galaxy is that small. And again, I'm not saying I need 30 Jedi, but you mentioned Quinlan Vos. It would have been nice to see Quinlan Vos.
Well, I think again though too is like the difference between Obi-Wan and like Boba Fett. Like nothing against Boba Fett. Boba Fett's a great character. Mm-hmm. But technically in like the original trilogy, like we really didn't see him, and we don't like know enough like about him. Like it was more like I don't want to say a fan service thing, but like it was more to kind of explore his story. But I think this is just like what I believe. I could be totally wrong, but I think if Mandalorian didn't come out, like he would have probably gotten Mandalorian story. But like because that's already a series, they had to kind of kind of make that different and not because then people will be like, oh, isn't that just Mandalorian? Even though, you know.
I kind of feel like introducing Din first is what softened the cushion for Boba, right? Because when you introduce Din, right, there's no expectations, there's no story plot. This is a brand new character. You can come in, do whatever you want. And it worked. Everyone loved him. They loved the idea of Mandalore. They loved the idea of this bounty hunter in the armor. It's also because
of things that we didn't know before that.
That's also fair. But to me, Din essentially was just a newer and better model of what everyone knew Boba to be, right? So it's like you do that, it worked. So now it softens the cushion for whatever you decide to do with Boba Fett, right? Now, you could argue whether or not that worked. Robert Rodriguez has to sleep with that. But, you know, it did soften the blow of you can reintroduce him now because it's a thing again. People want to see these bounty hunters again.
Like I said, I think because, like, they could have done, like, everything in, like, all of, like, Boba Fett's, like, comics and everything that they did.
100%.
But, again, I still think, like, I don't think it's the entire reason why, but I think it's, like, a huge factor on why Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, kind of ended up being what it was. That because of them already getting out that story and it's, like, already still ongoing for Mandalorian, they didn't want, like, fans who are, like, it's kind of like when, like, the MCU, like, from what I heard, this is, like, how, like, a lot of people were upset that they changed Miss Marvel's powers because, like, they haven't introduced Reed Richards in the current MCU. It's like they don't have, like, so there's not, like, too many characters with the same powers or, like, the same kind of thing. That's where I kind of think they tried to separate. So, like, the two of them weren't, like, it was like, oh, isn't Mandalorian just Boba Fett, or isn't Boba Fett just Mandalorian? Because, like, there's gonna be those people that are, like, just casual fans being like, wait, what's the difference of them? Aren't they just the same? Because it's like, it's all bounty hunters. Because, like, they, you know, like, yeah, they're all different, but, you know,
and I
they're
think
similar too.
I think what did not help with that, as I pass it to you, Blake, I think what did not help with that is that you ended up narratively saying he is a Mandalorian. What would have been better is if you said what we thought from Clone Wars, which was his father just stole that armor from the Mandalorians, right? He's not a Mandalorian. He's a thief and an enemy to Mandalore. So then when you do that, people are just like, oh, well, you're clearly not part of them. You just stole their armor and happen to just have the same kind of skill sets as them, right? I could accept that. That's what I'm saying. There is a fundamental difference between Miss Marvel and Mr. Fantastic. You just have to be smart enough to be able to convey that in a way that your audience can understand. And to me, that's the burden on the writer. To me,
I don't know if it's like them not saying that, like, assuming that writers think that, like, casual audience are, like, stupid or something, but, like, I think it's just to avoid any problems. So some people are gonna be like, would just watch, like, the movies or something, be like, or the shows and be like, why are they the same? Like, I don't get it. So
yeah, I'm just saying,
they kind of just play it safe. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, like, I won't know. I'm not really, like, a writer on one of the shows. Like, I don't know, like, their reasoning behind it, but that, like, makes more sense on why, like, Boba Fett wasn't, you know, the Boba Fett that, like, you know, a lot of people are used to. Like, well, my manager, where, like, he's not happy with the show and he loves Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and he was, like, explaining that, like, why they probably sacrificed his story and show.
Well, to me, I just viewed Book of Boba as always a bridge. It was just a bridge to get to Mandalorian season 3. That's always how it was always looked at. So to me, there was only, to me, it was like when I watch WandaVision, right? That show, I believe, phenomenally written, right? But all in all, it was just to get you to Spider-Man and then to get you to Doctor Strange 2. It was never meant to be anything more than, we don't want to have to explain Wanda's whole arc in Doctor Strange, so we'll do it here so that by the time we get to Doctor Strange, we can just explore now what she does.
I mean, yeah,
like,
technically,
it worked on WandaVision. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it was like
Loki more kind of like pushed that narrative of like the multiverse more, like because like some people were still like not believing it. I think like the finale of Loki, kind of where people are like, okay, yeah, the multiverse is happening, No Way Home's happening, we're gonna see Andrew and Toby kind of thing.
Yeah, again, to me, I believe it's okay to acknowledge some of these things as just bridges and grade them accordingly. And it was just a bridge.
Well, it's as long as it's all like it's like if everything's connected, it's like how they built up the first 10 years of the MCU.
Yeah, and again, to me, even if useless cameos are a thing that we don't need, I got a chance to see Luke and Ahsoka in the same exact spot.
Oh yeah, like when I
wouldn't trade that in for the world.
No, like when I say like with like cameos, like that was everything to me. Like I will never complain about that. Like knowing in canon that Luke and Ahsoka met, like that's everything.
Yeah, that's everything.
And like that's not what I mean, but I just like.
I'm with you on doing too much, and that's why.
No, there's just a certain narrative that because they do that, people are going to expect that every time.
Oh, that's out of the bag already. But
to me,
it's over for that.
To me, and Blake,
no, I didn't say that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's how I feel. So it's like it doesn't always.
I do think it's a bad thing, though. Because I think it kills expectation. I think
Blake knows what I'm talking about.
It destroys expectations.
Yeah, and it's over for that. That's gonna. I think that died with Spider-Man.
Look, if Black Bolt doesn't show up in Miss Marvel, it's automatically terrible. So,
I'm sure.
This is why I'm like, to me, I'm kind of like, you got to kind of outweigh the good with the bad. And the reason why I say that is, to me, like me and Trevon were talking, and Trevon was just like, all the Defenders were in New York, right? Spider-Man's in New York. Fantastic Four's in New York. X-Men are in New York. They're in upstate New York. It's all New York. And I was telling Trevon, but here's how you do that to where it narratively makes sense of these characters not interacting for one specific story that's a Spider-Man movie. They all got shit to be doing, right? So it's like you could use it as a throwaway line. Like remember in Far From
Home, yeah.
What did Peter say to Fury? Why can't you get Thor off world? Miss Marvel, don't invoke her name. Like they're telling you why these characters that you believe are here can't come help. Right? So all I'm saying is, do I need Quinlan Vos to show up? No, but I enjoy you expanding the universe to more than just me to believe, once again, there's only one Jedi, right? Expand it. It could be narratively. Like, oh shit, I saw a Jedi yesterday at the bar. Okay, cool. We're now expanding the world a lot more. Blake, I pass it to you. Your thoughts on that, and then your thoughts on this episode.
I agree with that because, when it comes to Star Wars, it isn't as... it's starting to expand, like with what you said, Taika Waititi said, but at the same time, in this era of Star Wars, I'm pretty sure it was mostly Legends that I read it in, but Vader is searching for Kenobi. And I thought that by episode 2, once he opens his eyes and kind of has that connection again, we would see him persecuting Jedi. And these Inquisitors were marketed as Jedi hunters. So I really, expectation-wise, I did think we would see a few Jedi in the show that Vader would have being tortured, and by the time he hears Obi-Wan is around, he gets more ruthless. Like, if you don't answer this question, I'm just going to kill you, and I'll move on to the next Jedi and see if he'll tell me what I want to know. But the fact that we haven't seen a single Jedi outside of Kenobi, I agree, is a little... Like Quinlan Vos, that was perfectly set up, and I think they could have done that. I kind of did expect him to show up by this episode when they got to where they needed to go, and he's like, I'll hold him off, and it's kind of a one-on-one with Vader, and he just doesn't stand a chance, but he goes out a hero. Right. It's little moments like that I think it wasn't just going to be fan service. It would have supported the story. Like, there are some Jedi out there, they see what Obi-Wan's trying to do, they're going to help him, and Vader's not having it. Right. So I think it would have helped the story. It would have improved Vader, who's already pretty perfect in this show and even this episode, but I don't know, maybe by the finale we'll get something, but at this point it's just kind of like, why wait for the finale to flesh stuff out like that?
And to the point you and Didge are making about it possibly being bad, to me, I think what fans should do, we know they won't do it, right? You can expect it, but don't be upset if you don't get it, right? Because no one ever told you were going to. True. So as long as you have a healthy balance of, I'm watching Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night might show up. And then when he doesn't, as long as you can still appreciate that season for what it did for Moon Knight and not what it did for the overall MCU, you'll be fine. But it's the people that muddy those waters that now believe because we know that he should be in it, if he's not, it's upset.
Automatically trash.
Right. So as long as you can have a healthy balance of the two, to me, it should never be a problem. Like, I wanted to see Yoda. I wanted Obi-Wan to go to Dagobah. He ain't going to Dagobah, but guess what? That's not something that sways me to think this show is garbage because he didn't go to Dagobah. right?
You're asking a lot of.
At the same time,
not reasonable.
I think I don't know if it's necessarily what Didge meant, but when it comes to my stance on the cameos, it's more of like, does this character need to be here? Like, you look at No Way Home. Doctor Strange was a pretty big character in that movie, and I think it worked. Like, he had a genuine role to play, and I don't think it was forced. It was just to be like, hey, we can do Doctor Strange, so we're going to do him. It felt natural. Like, yeah, Peter would go to Strange. Strange would kind of stick around, make sure he cleaned up that mess by the end of it. And then just other movies. I actually had one on the top of my head. But movies do it. Like Black Widow was naturally in Iron Man 2 and stuff like that. It's where it gets to the point, like, you could put this character in the movie and you did. And it doesn't work. You just did it because, A, people want to see it, and B, you had the ability to do so, regardless of whether it makes sense for the story. So I think that's what, like, if you can pull it off and this character plays a genuine role and improves the story for the better, sure. It's when it's just kind of like that's how I see the cameos in Book of Boba Fett. That didn't serve the story. That was to push Mandalorian along, which it did very well. And I don't think they needed to necessarily do that in Boba Fett's show because, yeah, we didn't like Boba Fett in that show, but I don't think replacing that with a literal entire other plot line from an entirely different show helped to that one at all. But
did it help tell the Boba Fett story? No. But then again, it goes down to, were they ever trying to tell a singular story, or was the plan always to push a further narrative? And this is just a perfect character to bridge to get you to that point. Yeah. And again, I can't definitively speak for that because I don't know what the fuck Robert Rodriguez was thinking.
If that is the case, I don't like the idea of these money laundering fronts as shows just to spearhead another show along. Like if, say, Armor Wars was just to set up a new Punisher show, and they got Punisher in the War Machine armor at some point, and it had nothing to do with Rhodey. Like, I think War Machine fans would be genuine, like, would have a right to be upset by that. Yeah. So it just kind of comes down to what they are trying to do, and then judge it from there.
That's fair, but like I said, to me, with Boba, it's just, I don't know, because I'm like, to me, being upset about necessarily or possibly tarnishing Boba, what always bothered me about that narrative was I legit heard no one talking about Boba before Mando, right? Before that season of Mando, literally nobody was, there wasn't Restore the Boba Fett or Bring Back
that James Mangold movie.
You know what I'm saying?
Sounded great.
Yes, James Mangold did have an idea of what he wanted to do. But outside of that, there really wasn't like an outcry for Boba, right? So to me at that point, it's just like, narratively, could that character have been better? Of course. Of course, and this is coming from someone who read the Boba books, who watched Boba grow up in Star Wars Clone Wars, who always felt like that character deserved more. But to me, once you introduce Mando, I thought that was your way of saying, we don't plan on ever revisiting that.
And I was happy
we got a
with
better version. Right, that's what I'm saying.
It was
I thought
much
that's
after that. Yeah,
I didn't think you needed to double down. But Blake, your thoughts on episode 5 as a whole?
Oh my god, I thought this, and I haven't had a single problem with this show at all, but I really think this episode was Star Wars. Like, you had and mostly cinematography wise, I'm surprised to see a lot of people actually not really liking how this show, even this episode, is shot. But there's a specific shot, like right when we see Vader on that ship,
It's a lot of shaky cam.
I'll give it that. When it comes to the duels, some of them, like even in episode 3, there are a lot of close-ups on Vader and Kenobi, which are great. When it came to Vader and Reva, there wasn't a lot of close-ups where I think there could have been. It was a lot of like, they're 5 feet away, and we're going to rush the camera around here and then cut to the other side and do the same thing. And it's just, when it comes to lightsaber duels, they are sword fights, which are very personal duels. So close-up shots make sense. And to see that lacking in such a personal fight between those two, I was like, this is an amazing fight, but I would have put a few shots on their face as opposed to behind Vader kind of swiping at her back, or when he takes the lightsabers apart, I would have done that from the front as opposed to far away from the side. It was just, those decisions are a little weird, but aside from that, I haven't even seen it on Twitter, but there's a shot of Vader looking outside the window of that ship, and I think it's a planet.
We have it actually. Jayla, if you could pull that up for us, we have that
Please.
shot, and I actually have the mirror shot of Ahsoka. Ahsoka doing that also.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that shot, but
There's one of a
before
planet,
Of
but
him
this
just
one
in the
again
full
is
planet.
getting a lot of scrutiny because it's not like the Rogue One, which I actually prefer this one. It's just
Yeah, no, me too.
I don't know, the simplicity of it. It directly mirrors Ahsoka there. The show is shot very well. When it comes to the fights, it's a little iffy, but especially when it comes to Vader, how he pulls that ship down. I think the wide shots really do that justice too, because you can see his sheer strength in one arm compared to that giant ship that he doesn't necessarily struggle with, but he's just like, I'll bring it down. I just need to focus a little bit.
Yeah, just only a little bit.
Just a little bit. He was a genuine monster this episode, and it was rough. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike this series at all, but I'm starting to have the same feeling about this series that I did about the Black Widow movie. And my issue with that movie wasn't about whether it was good or bad. My issue heading into that movie was always, or not issue, my question heading into that movie was always, you have to make this make sense for the fact that you're making it, right? Because like at this point, in real time, she's dead. So you're giving us a prequel, but so far after when it needed to be, right? So I'm like, at the end of the day, this movie has to establish why it was even needed, right? So I'm watching this series, and me and Didge were talking about it last week. It's you making this show is essentially you shooting on a live mime field, right? And the mimes are canon. You're dodging canon to try to fill in the gaps of it, right? And it's like, well, you maybe didn't have to do this. Me and Didge were saying before we got on, we were like, maybe this would have narratively made more sense if it was an Inquisitor series that featured Vader, and then in the middle of it, they come across to find out that Kenobi's alive, and maybe it's about Kenobi leading them away from Luke, right? Same thing about hunting them, but the narrative is about introducing the Inquisitors, introducing Reva. Vader is the lingering threat over top of both. And that way, the focus isn't on, well, narratively, you have to say this, or you have to do this, or avoid that, or that, right? So that's why I said episode 6 has to hit a lot harder than anything else I've ever seen.
I think 6 I think their biggest problem is avoiding things. Like, they introduced Luke at the end of this episode. That is dangerous territory. Because when we meet him
dangerous territory.
in A New Hope, he really shouldn't have any inclination on this outside of what he's heard on his little farm.
I mean, even, and that's why I said, I understand if someone interprets it different, because George kind of left it open to interpretation. But I took A New Hope as Leia was only faintly knowledgeable of Kenobi. Like, she had heard of Kenobi. She had known that he was close to her father, but she had never did this that we're seeing now. Because now it makes that line a little confusing, because it's like, you know exactly everything about Kenobi that you would need to know. You fought alongside him, you hung out with him, you went through the muck of it all with him. So I'm like, that movie kind of makes it sound like she was vaguely aware of Kenobi. She knew who he was, she knew he was a Jedi, she knew that he was friends with his father. That was really it. You know, so I'm like, her going on this full-fledged adventure with him, yeah, you got to be really fucking careful with Luke.
I'd like to see how their relationship comes to an end by the end of this finale. Like, on what terms do they part ways, kind of thing? Because she is a little girl, and we meet her when she's 19 in A New Hope, so it's not significant, but it's a fair time jump to the. I'm helping them a lot, because she is like, you served my father in the Clone Wars, as opposed to like, you saved my life.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, again. She made it sound like Obi-Wan Kenobi was just a story that was told. Yeah. Not I legit was fighting alongside him when I was kidnapped.
That is the one
whole
thing
experience.
Right, yeah.
That he was like my uncle, like, you know, taking care of me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, when it comes this whole trauma together.
When it comes to Kenobi himself, I don't think it's breaking too much, because he was on Tatooine for 10 years. And then another 9 years had to go by before we meet him again in A New Hope. And you have to imagine something happens within 19 years. Like, he's not just
him leaving the planet.
Cooking away.
Him leaving the planet, I don't have a massive issue with, because it's not like he leaves the planet and then this show ends with him going, all right, I got to stay away from Luke so he'll be safe. Because then that's completely retconning everything. You could leave, sporadically. That's fine. I don't have any issues with that. But it's bringing Luke and Leia into the fray that now makes it like, well, they probably shouldn't have as much interaction with him as they're having.
I'm very interested to see exactly how they use Luke and how they leave off Leia. But a big thing that I'm genuinely surprised to see everybody talking about is I never got the impression that Revenge of the Sith was the last time that Vader and Obi-Wan have seen each other. Just because of that small line of dialogue. I think we brought it up in the last, episode 3. Vader says, when I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master. We've all seen Revenge of the Sith, and his ass does not leave Obi-Wan. It's the other way around, so...
Well, it's not even that. It's also, like, how did he know that Anakin was alive, kind of thing. You know, like, that was, like, what we saw in this show, like, for him finding out that... Because if he didn't know up until, like, he confronted Vader in A New Hope, then, like, he would have, like, more of a reaction than just, like...
In A New Hope, he's like, Darth Vader's probably on that ship. So how do you know he's on that ship? Didn't you watch Darth Vader burn to a crisp on Mustafar?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well,
so
see,
it's like...
That was my issue in Vader not taking more umbrage on knowing she was a youngling. Like, it sounded like Vader remembered her. So I'm like, you're telling me that you're acknowledging that she saw you as Anakin. And you're just like, a little stab. A little stab. You want to make it no. You want to wipe her off the face of the
second
galaxy.
He got that inclination when she's like, hello, sir, I would like to join the Empire. He's like, sure, welcome to... And just crush it right there.
Right,
like,
exactly.
No, you saw my face as Anakin. I'm not letting you join anything.
I'm not, because even when Kenobi says it further adds on to why that didn't make any sense. When he's like,
like even
I
everyone
find it
was
hard
like,
to believe. Yeah,
he's like, unless you were there, like he wouldn't just like let that slip out. And then
like, he would be like, how many people could she tell by keeping her alive? So
100%. And then again, it made it. Go ahead, Trevon. Go ahead.
Okay, this doesn't sound like a really ignorant question. Why does it matter?
It's not.
Why does it matter? Like, everybody's scared of him anyway.
No. It matters because the world or the galaxy is under the impression the Jedi are gone. If
well,
they're now, if they now know.
One.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He has no one no one for them to like go after a weakness. Like, he has no weaknesses. He has nobody.
No. It's the narrative of like I was almost going to use a horrible example, but it's the narrative of the Jedi were eradicated. Palpatine, in this time, in these 10 years, has been telling the galaxy, the Jedi tried to kill me. The Jedi are the enemy. Do not trust the Jedi, right? So for the galaxy to find out, one of the faces of the Jedi Order at the time is now your loyal foot soldier. That now eradicates the entire narrative you've been spinning. You have a Jedi by your side.
Which objectively is
he's turned one.
Yeah,
I was turned one.
But as a galaxy, you don't know what a Sith Lord is.
With that narrative that he tried to play innocent, that like, like especially with like Mace Windu that like tried to kill him. Like he probably like bragged to everyone, they all tried to kill me. Like that's why
it's more so if you're Palpatine. I just don't want to have to answer the more questions that would spin, right? Because the galaxy as a whole does not know what a Sith Lord is. So if you're like, I turned him into like one of us. Well, what is one of us? We only know lightsabers to be associated with Jedi. Is he a Jedi or is he not a Jedi? That's what made the Vader comic so important. Because when he was sent on his first mission and came across those clone troopers, they were shooting at him like he was a Jedi. They didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if they didn't know the difference and they're working alongside the Empire, what do you think a random planet out there in orbit thinks? Like, as a Jedi.
That's why the Vader show is next.
Which is, I always...
it would help your questions, yes. Go ahead,
It's the one thing I always said was stupid about the Empire is you can easily just say, yes, the Jedi turned them. You don't even have to say that I turned one to my side. You could have just said, the Jedi turned to me. Anakin Skywalker, obviously, or whoever you want to call him, you can call him Darth. You could easily just said he was the one who turned against his own kind to make sure that we were safe.
Sure.
Easy.
But
I get why they didn't. No, I get why they didn't do it. I'm just saying, looking at it from the outside as a fan, as I got older, I was like, that's the easiest way you could have did this.
Yeah, for sure. But I do want to say, Trevon, and like I said, the question was not crazy at all. I understand 100% where you're coming from, right? But it wasn't a point of a weakness that someone could use against you. It was more so
the message
the world
of the Jedi
was supposed to believe the Jedi were gone. So because they don't know what a red lightsaber means as opposed to a red or a blue one, to them it's all Jedi, right? It's all Jedi. So to see one right alongside you, it's the confusion of, well, isn't he Anakin the Jedi? Like, who is that? So to me, it just creates more questions that clearly Palpatine was not looking to answer.
Yeah, he was still.
It's still lightsabers that still use the Force, so why would they still think they're Jedi, even if they are being evil?
It's different. It's different when you're watching something that looks to be a robot, as opposed to that robot really is Anakin, one of the leaders of the fight against, you know what I'm saying, the evil. Only, yesterday, right? Because we're talking when he just became Vader. It was only a day ago the whole galaxy knew what Jedi Anakin and Obi-Wan were, right? And now you're telling me a whole day later?
He lucked up. Else? He lucked up with Mustafar. With Mustafar happening.
Well, Mustafar,
because
right, yeah.
if it was just Anakin, still regular old Anakin, it would have been a little bit tougher.
Would have been really weird for that cyborg to work that way. No mask, just his face.
No mask.
Yeah, would have been really weird. Sarah, I'll go to you. What were your thoughts on this episode?
As a whole, I've just loved this series. It feels very nostalgic for me, loving both Obi-Wan and Anakin. And this episode felt like very classic Star Wars to me. I don't know. There was a lot of aspects. I particularly liked how they did Tala's death. She was like such a minor character in the grand scheme of the whole franchise, but that felt very Star Wars to me, like her sacrificing to save all the people after her telling her story. And I don't know, I just thought they did it really well, and I liked seeing the flashbacks. I have been waiting for the flashbacks for this whole series, and I was really excited that they started with it. I was kind of shocked that they got right into it, but I liked it a lot.
Yeah, and look, I said this before. The only reason why I will accept that flashback the way that I'm accepting it is that Dave Filoni better be pulling out all the stops when Ahsoka series comes out.
Yeah.
Like, it better be a flashback per second. They thought Boba's flashbacks were annoying. I want double that for the Ahsoka series. Because I'm like, the more I watch this, the more I'm like, it still doesn't justify that you brought Hayden back for this series and you only drizzled him in, right? Yeah. So it's like, well, what? You know? But Mr. E says, this episode was so dope, probably the best episode of the show, in my opinion. Nice to see Anakin before the barbecue incident. And I love the way his appearance was handled, even though he looks older. Yeah, they definitely could have done a better job on
especially
his
after what
face.
they did with Luke.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, that was a head scratcher looking at him like.
That didn't bother me.
I completely get you, Sabrina, but I could understand how someone's saying it's an eyesore.
I'm just saying this because it's like it's Hayden and like it's like, oh, I'm not gonna pay attention to everything. When they zoomed in on some close-ups of his face, like, yeah, you saw it, but I also didn't go in expecting him to still look 19. Like when they said de-aged, I kind of was a little afraid that they'd do like all CGI on his face, and I was like, I don't know if that'd work for him.
Yeah, but we're talking way less than that. We're talking just erasing wrinkles, because that moment is before even Attack of the Clones. So he's younger than he was supposed to be in Attack of the Clones.
It's fine. No, I'm kidding. No, you're
young.
Right. I don't care.
I'm like,
he doesn't look 19.
I don't care.
And you know what, Sabrina? I would have given you that if the wrinkles only showed in the Revenge of the Sith flashback. I'm like, well, he's supposed to be drastically older. I'll let that slide. But the fact that training sequence was supposed to be before even Attack of the Clones, which means he's younger than he was in Attack of the Clones. Not drastically, but slightly. You gotta erase the wrinkles. How does he have wrinkles that young?
Why they did it, but
Jedi's a very stressful job.
I mean, Anakin was very high strung. I mean, technically. So
yeah, but Trevon, the likelihood of a
he had the braid thing that gave you young. You saw that braid thing. Like when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, he's young." That's like okay.
And then
cool.
what happened when you saw the wrinkles? You went, oh,
I didn't even see that. Honestly, I didn't even look that hard. I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I really didn't either the first time. Then I kept seeing screenshots, and I was like, yeah, I guess like you see it, but.
I mean, my bigger issue was more so that they could have made Coruscant look a little bit better in the background. Like it didn't have that like, I don't know. George made Coruscant look just so fucking epic, and I'm looking in the background of that, and it's like, which is also. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. When I get to it, I'll talk about it.
All right, I'll go right to you. But I will say, Sabrina, Blake, and Didge, you and Sarah, you guys might be interested to know this, but Hayden just did an interview recently where he said he hasn't spoken to George in forever. George was not on set, not a part of this.
Really?
Wow.
No, said he hasn't spoken to him. Said he would love to, but he hasn't spoken to him about anything of the show or anything like that. So that's weird because we know for a fact almost everything Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni do, we be seeing George all up in the back of the photos, just sitting there.
He was nursing
maybe
Grogu.
they like forbidden him because they're like, oh god, he's gonna stop us.
Well, I mean, I do think it's hard to have George there if you're trying to say I want to navigate everything you built, right? So I want to navigate
he has a right
through
to
it
be
and
there
do it
because
my
it's like
way.
his characters and he started it, but still.
It's hard because I guarantee you, if you invite him, he's gonna tell you what he thinks, and I don't believe they're interested in what he thinks.
First of all, he would have heard Luke and Leia, and he would have been like, "No, no, they shouldn't be involved in the slightest."
No. And he would have been like, "Wait, someone knows that Vader's Anakin? How long before they die? They're under him for 10 years, and then he just stabs her? You got to take that out. you can't keep that up there." What's up, Casper? All right, so Trevon, I'll go to you. What were you about to say?
See, okay, for me, this is why it's funny to listen to you, like some of y'all talk about it. It's like I don't read into this stuff that deep, but you sound like you were just saying about George. You sound like George, like on set. Like if he was on set, you sound like you would do the same thing that George would do if you were there. Like, oh no, this doesn't work. No, that doesn't make sense. No, this doesn't. Like, I get it. I understand, but it's just like this is already difficult as it is to me because like they have such a there's certain things they just cannot do because it won't, like, like with Vader and Obi-Wan, like nobody's dying, certain things just can't happen. So it's like I feel like they're doing as best as they can with this. I feel like that's why I was always worried about the show when they first announced it in the first place. I was like, so what are they gonna do? The
reason I can't give that to them is
why
they took it upon themselves to do this, right? Like this wasn't like, oh, you have to. I'm sure this is probably bless you.
Thank you.
This is probably Deborah Chow pitching something to bless you,
Kathleen
Kennedy, alongside Ewan McGregor. So this was a decision to do this, right?
Yeah.
So once you decided to do this, you now know the responsibility that comes with it is there is a lot of canon you have to maneuver around. So it's different than like, let's say if someone wants to do Power Rangers, but it's not Mighty Morphin, it's different, right? Mm-hmm. I give them all the freedom in the world because you're doing something completely new. It has nothing to do with something that's canon. But when you're messing with said canon and you're saying it's really hard to navigate, ain't nobody asked for no Kenobi show. We're glad we have it, but ain't nobody asked for it. So you're not doing us a favor.
I asked for it.
Y'all kind of asked for it.
I asked for it.
I think I honestly think this has been the most wanted story of like all the previous
it's been talked about
years.
For a long time, like speculated and like wanted for so long.
Yeah, I kind of felt.
You know what? Then let me ask you this: if you ask the fan base right now, do they want this Kenobi series or a Vader series?
I don't want to ask the fan base anything.
You want to ask them that now?
Yeah, they're choosing the Vader.
Now.
I don't give a shit.
They're choosing the Vader series.
Who knows what the fan base wants?
I still don't like what the Vader series would be about. Like it's
hunting Jedi.
I mean,
I'm like amazing. That series would make way much more sense because you don't have to navigate through anything. You're just saying Vader's just going out there killing Jedi. Great. Great.
I still feel like there'll be some complaints. There'll be some complaints there too.
The Star Wars fandom is wild. Yes, there will be.
Yes. Will they create something? Yes, but canon-wise, there's nothing you have to navigate through in doing a Vader series. It's essentially you just have the freedom and just go kill Jedi.
I guess that's true, but it's like, but once you do like you just have Vader canon like random Jedi that you guys have never heard of. You're like, what is this show? Who cares? Like, I just see that.
Well, that's what the books were, but then again, those are circumstantial fandoms. That like, well, those Jedi don't matter. Well, if you read the books, those Jedi do. It's not like you're just making up something for the show. Those Jedi exist in the books. If you didn't read the books, that's a whole nother conversation to have. But they're not made up. Those Jedi exist, and Vader killed them. You know what I'm saying? So to me, again, I don't have any issues with the show existing, but I won't give them the freedom, the pass of it's so hard to navigate. No, you didn't have to do it.
I feel like they did a good job by having Leia more in it.
You will not talk about Florida like that, Mr. E. Sorry, Trevon. You will not call Dagobah Florida. I don't necessarily disagree.
Right, that's too good for Dagobah.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say that's rude to them.
Yeah, that's rude to Dagobah. I missed the little green puppet. Yeah, Yoda took the oath to heart. When Yoda said hide, Yoda took that shit to heart. Yoda said, I don't give a fuck about a galaxy. I don't give a fuck about a youngling. I am retired. Gone. Yoda said, I tried. I tried Revenge of the Sith to stop Palpatine. I failed. Fuck it. I'm done. I gave my service. Gone.
Yoda has a son out there that he just ignoring
everything. Yoda turned his back on everything. He said, "Ain't my problem. I don't give a shit."
Yoda's a deadbeat dad.
100%.
He is.
Yeah. Yoda said, "That ain't got shit to do with me." Meanwhile, Luke shows up. Hey, can you train me? I guess. Sure, maybe. All right, whatever. All right. No, but Trevon, did you want to go more into the episode?
I guess. I love the fight between Reva, and she did her best. I enjoyed Vader flexing his abilities, his great power that he has. Pulling that ship down was very cool to see, and him just ripping that shit open.
He ripped it like
it's almost like it was just doing it just off of pure wit. Like he's just walking up to it, like open this shit up. Like it was just very cool to see, like that. Like that's really cool. I was like, so how any of y'all ever think y'all gonna go up against him? I have no idea. So if he's like that all the time, like yeah, good luck. Yeah. That's why I'm really curious to see how Obi-Wan can even the way Obi-Wan is set up right now. I don't see him going up against them. Even like what is it? Did you even pitch him? Like I don't even see. Like I don't see it yet. I don't see him gaining power or like getting back more in tune with the Force. I just don't see it yet, and I don't want to all of a sudden next episode Obi-Wan's back powered up. I'm like,
no, it won't be that. It won't be that. But there is always the fleeting concept of when you're on your last rope, right? Like when you're right there at death's door.
Out of nowhere, yeah.
Right? And again, it's not he'll come back to Obi-Wan of 10 years ago. He'll just come back to being a lot more than what he is now.
Well, you can start seeing him start to get his bearings back, like with fighting with the lightsaber this episode.
Right.
Where it's like, some of the moves that he was doing, he had a little bit more flourish with them. I don't think he's gonna, like you said, he's not gonna come back to being like he was during the Clone Wars or anything. No. But
I don't know. For me, I mean, the lightsaber thing, I feel like you need the way that Vader was doing the Force stuff. It was just like, wow, yikes! I was like, yeah, good luck. I was just like, yeah, you're not about to do this.
Yeah, we're like, she's fucked.
I was like, woo, he's kind of overpowered. This isn't
overpowered.
Okay.
Right now, there is, until Luke gets older, there is nobody in the galaxy as powerful as Vader. And look, honestly, the only reason Palpatine is stronger than Vader is that he put a failsafe into the suit. So the suit, nothing can really penetrate that suit outside of Force lightning. Guess who's the only motherfucker in the galaxy that has Force lightning right now?
No.
Palpatine. so Palpatine was very much like, all right, yeah, you're creating a suit.
Why is that, by the way?
That Palpatine did that? So he could always control Vader.
No, why can't Vader do it?
Do Force lightning?
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying.
No,
that makes sense.
No, time out. No,
yes, it was. That was not nice.
Why can't he do it?
No, I don't think the Psy was like about the question.
No. The Psy was.
No, it definitely was. You're like.
No. The Psy was because the Psy was because narratively Star Wars has changed that answer through time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Starkiller was born a Jedi, but somehow has Force lightning, right? And then you go, well, Anakin fully gave himself to the dark side. How come that wasn't something that he learned? It just wasn't, right? So that's why I sigh, because there's not like this well thought out reason for why he doesn't. He just doesn't, right? And if there is a thought out explanation as to why, I don't remember.
I don't know.
So,
I'm trying to Google it right now. Let's see
so
if
my
I can
style
find
wasn't
something.
for your question, because I hear that question a lot. It was more so for, they don't really
Especially after
narratively
this
dive
episode.
into that. Right, they don't narratively dive into that. Yeah, they don't really dive into that. So it's more so confusing. It had nothing to do with your question. Nothing to do with your question at all. It was just one of those, like, they don't really truly explain it all that well. It's just like, well, they can do it, he can't. It's like, but he's more powerful than they are. Why can't he? I don't understand. So, yeah, it had nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you at all. You find anything, Didge?
That's pretty much, that's
not really.
The episode was great to me. I had a great time. Yeah, I was actually surprised you didn't like it that much. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and again, I want to specify, it wasn't that I didn't like it or thought it was bad. You just asked me, you thought I would have enjoyed it as much as everybody else did.
Yeah,
and I said I didn't.
Flashback and stuff.
I did find something, and it's something that even in the article it says that it hasn't been officially confirmed or anything, but it runs along the same lines of, if he uses it, he can short circuit his own life support system.
You would think so, yeah. But I mean, even Anakin in Mustafar didn't show any signs of being able to utilize that.
Fair.
You know, so it's like, again, that's why.
Yeah, I don't think it like automatically comes to anywhere like immediately in the dark side. I think they have to like learn it.
Right, because Rey wasn't in the dark side and she used Force lightning. A horrible
it's supposed
example
to be.
use,
It's supposed to be based off of your rage.
I wasn't gonna bring her up, but thank you.
Isn't it? It's supposed to be based off. If I remember when I first read about it, it was supposed to be based off of tapping into that extreme rage, which again, we know Anakin has the extreme rage.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, it's such a weird thing. I think they just didn't want to have him have it.
Or is he calm? That's even scarier. Like
he's
just calm right now.
Calm?
Like, I'm saying while he's dodging Reva, he's like, oh, this bitch. Like, just move out my way.
No.
And just bringing the thing down.
Because remember, you're talking about him fighting Reva right after watching Kenobi escape again. He's very angry. And Reva is more so like, I have to waste my time dealing with you when I want to just go after Kenobi.
Why didn't he just slice her head off then? Like, if you're that angry, like just...
Vader sometimes is very methodical in what he does. So a lot of him was just like, I'm gonna teach her a lesson, right? I'm gonna make an example. But again, yeah, I don't know. But Hayden did one of the questions we had, Didge, I passed to you to end this out. Remember how we were saying, like, if you're Vader, how do you just watch Kenobi get dragged away and you not just, take the fire away and go grab him yourself? So Hayden was saying in a recent article that Vader was just so stunned at how far Kenobi had fallen.
Oh, I saw that article.
That it bothered him that he wasn't the same Kenobi he was expecting him to be.
He was weak.
So, right. It was more so just like, well,
he
maybe I
wants
caught
to
him on
win
an
against
off
him like fair and square, not because he's weak and like haven't been in touch with the Force for 10 years.
Right. Like Vader wants the narrative to be, I beat the face of hope, right?
Yeah. But not even that. Like I beat my master, but not because like he's weak and he can't put up a fight.
Fair fight. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, to what you just said, Trevon, we saw it even in this episode that no matter what, Vader, he has some type of code with it, because even when he broke the lightsaber in half or however you just detached it, he threw her one. And granted, it was in a mocking manner of let's see what you think you can do.
Did you guys notice that it was back together somehow on the ground when River picked it up? Maybe I'm just
no, Trevon. I said it. It's detachable. It's detachable.
I'm saying, but when did it get put back together?
You didn't.
Oh.
I did notice that, and I was like,
I was like, huh.
I did notice it. I was like, that's a little weird, but
I just assumed. I assumed when it remember when it shot away from her and went to Kenobi in the ship, and then came back to her, and it was together. I assumed she just put it together. Because this is what I assume. I assume she put it together and was using it to kind of like lift her to kind of get her some strength to get over to
you
the.
You could be right. I did notice it though too. I was like, oh, that's a little weird. All right.
Yeah. I won't argue that down. You're absolutely right, but I just assume she just snapped it back together. Because remember, we've never seen her use it detached. We've only ever seen her use it completely together. Yeah, so maybe she's like, it's uncomfortable to use it in both hands. We don't usually see Jedi duel 2 lightsabers. But Didge, go ahead and round this out, man. What'd you think of this episode?
I liked it a lot. I think a lot of the things that were touched on, there were definitely some weak points, and we touched on a lot of those already. But what I really loved about it was just to see Vader in his prime, essentially. Just effortlessly doing things that were crazy powerful. And then the fight itself, just to see she came at him with such rage. She didn't do herself any favors by yelling. If you're gonna sneak up attack on somebody, maybe don't yell as you do that first hit. Yeah. So she didn't do herself any favors with that. But just to see him basically treat her like you're a nuisance, and I don't care about your rage. I don't care about your anger. I just want to play with you for a little bit before I kill you, quote unquote, because I can't imagine he thinks that he killed her if he knowing that she didn't die the first time he stabbed her through the stomach. I don't know. But then I also really like to see how the Grand Inquisitor at the end, just for him to pop up and be petty to show her like, you thought you killed me, but you didn't, and we played you all along. What's something that was fun to see, because you do like to see when someone who's very arrogant, they think they have it all, just to know like when it's all falling apart, just to get that last little bit of petty. So I enjoyed that. I think it was something that was a move back to what Star Wars truly is, but it is still the same thing I said last week. They really got to stick this landing. It almost seems like this should have been 5 episodes, because if it would have ended with this,
it would have been perfect.
It would have been great.
Poetic.
All of those questions of me saying, are they going to stick the landing last week, would have been answered, because yes, they would have stuck it. But with a potential 1.5-hour episode, where do you go from here? That doesn't seem weird.
Because even to add on to that, Didge, even when they showed Luke, that was a perfect moment to go, to have Kenobi's voice in the background of saying, when it seems as though the galaxy has lost all hope, a new hope has arrived. And
well, they had Luke, that. They had a moment like that when they said, what did they say? When the light is lost. I can't remember the quote exactly. But
I know about what
it was about the darkness and the light. Like they had that in there. It sort of ended where everything seemed lost, but you kind of had that hope. They didn't need to add the part about them not being able to hit hyperdrive. You could have just got them basically just getting away, and everybody seems a little worse for wear. But it's like, we have that hope because we got away, and you just leave it like that. And then it is open if you want to touch this for somewhere else where you shouldn't, but this is where everybody ended, and now the next time you see all of them, or at least the main characters, is A New Hope. It would have been better.
Yeah, that just would have been a perfect way to end it, where you hear someone say and then a new hope arrives.
Yeah.
Right, and then it just shows Luke sleeping there, and it's like, yeah, there he is. That's the chosen one. That's the chosen one sleeping. So yeah, that would have been perfect. And I do want to add this before we get out of here, because I've seen this question too much on Twitter. I don't get it. Vader ends up blowing up Alderaan anyway. Why doesn't he just do it now? Well, the difference now is right now they're still in the transition period, right? To where the Empire is trying to establish an actual government, right? So 10 years from now, the Empire is so powerful and people have already bended the knee.
Wait, I don't get why someone would ask that question. Even outside of that, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
the Death Star isn't done. They know the Death Star isn't.
They don't mean necessarily essentially just blowing it up. They mean like, why can't you just go there and like just wipe out, to send a message, go there, kill Organa or whatever.
I was gonna say that's the weirdest question.
Right. And I'm like, to answer that question's actually answered in the first 2 episodes, where the Grand Inquisitor goes, we can't just do things like that. It's why when they landed on Coruscant, the Grand Inquisitor didn't just start killing people to find the Jedi. You have to do it the right way. We're establishing a government. Once we become that conglomerate, you kill whatever you want. Fuck it, blow up Alderaan. Who cares? What are they gonna do? What are you gonna do? Right? They're not there yet. So, look at the way Organa was speaking. He was speaking as if they had options, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could do whatever we want. It's democracy. It's open. Meanwhile, Palpatine's just like, if I wanted to, I would just come down there, force choke you, kill everybody. Right? So they answered it there, So I just wanted to reiterate that for people that are just like, well, they could just follow them to Alderaan and kill everybody. It's not that simple. Not yet. When Alderaan needs to be blown up, it gets blown up. That's all you need to know. But that is a question I saw a lot. It's like they're trying to build a government here. So that's why. All right. So really quickly, Sarah, I want to ask you, what is one thing you need coming out of episode 6?
That is a very big question. I guess there needs to be closure between Obi-Wan and Vader. I feel like to go from that to where they are in A New Hope, it kind of feels like it's still left a little bit empty. So I don't know. I guess I'd like to see Obi-Wan kind of reflect on everything, because he's been so confused by seeing Anakin turn to Vader. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no. I definitely get what you're saying. Yeah, it's definitely something that you got to leave. Like, we've seen Vader at like really OP right now, but unfortunately, I believe Vader's gonna have to lose next week. It's just narratively, it just has to happen. You have to lose, right? Mm-hmm. So then I believe again, it's tricky. It really is. God bless him. I would hate to have to be the inbox of Deborah come next week if this landing is not stuck. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I want people to send her nasty messages or anything like that. I'm just saying you already have Star Wars fans that are ridiculous, right? And now you validating them being ridiculous by not sticking the landing. I would not want to have to be that person in that situation, especially if she gets greenlit to do anything else Star Wars going forward. It's God bless you. Blake, what's the one thing you need coming out of episode 6?
I brought it up last time. I want an emotional conversation between Obi-Wan and Vader, specifically where Obi-Wan maybe tries to reason with him. Just pulls that like years before Luke even does. Like, you are still Anakin Skywalker. Like, there was a time where we loved each other. You were like a brother or a son to me. You were my Padawan. Something like that. And I would love Vader to reciprocate that for once, not just be evil and just be like, sorry, even say master, not even meaning it, just to kind of throw that back in his face.
I think that will kill me if that ever happened. I think that
something like that between them. Perfect. That's what I want.
I'm curious because to a degree, albeit it was a mental manipulation, Vader did do that with Ahsoka. But he did
when
it
his helmet was broken.
Right. He did it in a sense of a guilt trip, more so than trying to like, have that emotional connection. He was more so telling her like, I'm this because of you. You left me. Yeah. You left me when I needed you.
I think it was like when his helmet was broken, like a part of him was like still there, but like, and then 2 seconds later he like snapped out of it and was like, no, this is who I am now.
I mean, a part of me, I can allow that because that's
I don't know if
the
it's
first
like
time
a
seeing
complete
Ahsoka.
fake out. I don't think it was a fake out. I think it was like a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think it bothered him because remember, that's his first time seeing Ahsoka in forever. We got to remember, he left to go fight. No. I'm sorry. That was when Kenobi went to go fight Grievous. So we're talking about before Revenge of the Sith even ends.
Yeah.
she saw him before they went to go fight Grievous, before, the whole thing with Palpatine went down. So we're talking 15, 16, 17, 18 years in between the last time he saw her. So I get that part of him was just shaking a little bit, like, shit, you're still alive, right? Like, I loved you, So I can accept that for sure. Yeah, I do want to see them kind of have a mental sparring. If I were to say, kind of like, I don't necessarily need to go sword to sword. I'll go soul to soul, right?
I would take that over a lightsaber duel again.
100%. And I think this season would have been a lot better if that was the whole focus, was Kenobi trying to redeem Vader, right? And it's seeming impossible. And then the ultimate chosen one is the only one that could have gotten through to Vader and succeeded and redeemed him. I would have enjoyed this season a lot more if that was the main focus, of trying to redeem Vader. And Kenobi willing to risk it all to bring his Padawan back. I would have liked that a lot.
You burnt him up.
Again, he did not burn him up, Trevon. You keep saying it like he took a blowtorch to him.
He left him there to burn.
Now that's different. Yes, he left him there to burn, but he didn't burn him up. Like he didn't say, "All right, Lava, come here."
He didn't like firebend it or anything.
Yeah, he didn't firebend him. Yeah, that didn't happen.
Even when Anakin was getting burned, Obi-Wan was like, "Oh Jesus!"
It was like, "Oh, that's
I was expecting that."
Oh, yuck! Ugh.
Just imagine the smell and everything. Ugh.
Instead of killing him and let him burn and lose his.
I would have liked somebody to do a comedy rendition of like Kenobi watching and like, oh, this is too much, and just like force pushes him all the way into the lava. Like, let me end this.
No,
like, that's too much. Ugh, yuck. Sabrina, what's one thing you need to see coming out of episode 6?
I don't want to sound basic, but basically what Blake said, because like now, like, I want them to have some type of. No, like that. No, I want them to have some type of closure with each other. That like, because obviously before, like, when A New Hope came out, like, none of this was written, so we all assumed that when Obi-Wan sees him in A New Hope, that was like the first time. But now that we know it's not. It's like, okay, I think that now it's like, I think they had their closure on, like, what happened between them, but, like, he's still evil. Like, not that, like, Anakin's gonna, like, change, but, like, it's just, like, closure between them, and he's, like, no longer, like, really, like, hates him the same way, and, like, blames him for everything.
I mean, I'm with you and Blake, because remember in the Vader comic when he was bleeding his crystal, and he had that nightmare of him killing Palpatine and then bending the knee to Kenobi to beg him for forgiveness. So I'm like, essentially, you having that moment of the two of them where Vader kind of feels susceptible to Kenobi and then has to shut it off. And that is the first step of Vader finally overcoming his biggest weakness, which is his ego. So I'm like, I would have no problem if you dive deeper into Vader finally starting to slowly close off Anakin as much as possible. Right?
Yeah,
like
because
truly
it's like,
becoming Vader.
It's the same way of like basically using like anybody who knows his identity, like Vader's identity as Anakin. It's like that's already a touchy subject for him. So it's like, I think after that confrontation, that's when he completely like embraces it.
Right.
Like his dark side, like that Anakin's like so far gone. But like, I'm only putting air quotes because we obviously know with Luke.
And I'm glad you said that.
I don't know, because now it makes sense where it's like, if that was the first time, it's like something had to happen where it's not that big a deal. Because if they meant that much to each other at one point, that and oh my god, there's like one more thing I want to. Oh my god, it just slipped my mind. And now I'm mad.
If it pops back in, jump
I'm gonna
in
be
and
like,
let us know.
okay.
But no, I'm glad you said that, because I think a big misconception is that Vader completely killed off Anakin. Because we know that's not true, because that's how Luke was able to get through to him, is that there was still that small percentage of Anakin, right? They didn't know that then, but we know that now, that there was a sliver of Anakin still left in there for him to grab him. enough to pull him out. Didge, I already asked you, right, Didge?
No, but I mean, it's a tough question. I've been trying to think of it while everybody was answering. Honestly, I guess just basically, I gotta understand more of how the Leia and Obi-Wan ends, so that way you can bridge that to A New Hope.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And again, because another reason why this is so important, as I pass it to you, Trevon, is remember Obi-Wan was also used as a line in Rogue One. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it's still the idea of Obi-Wan means something, right?
I remember it. You know
what I'm saying? You remember? Oh, you remember? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was like, there it is. Okay, I remember it now. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't want you to forget it. Go.
This is gonna be like a long shot, but ever since I saw it in the first episode, like I think I would cry if it happened. That if Obi-Wan called out to Qui-Gon again and somehow he answered him, that would be fucking
We all thought that was gonna happen by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked.
Well, he didn't really show anything with his nightmare since the first episode. Mm-hmm. So I think.
Well, he's living the nightmare now.
No, I know, but I don't want it to be him sleeping, but I want him to just be Master, or
he did call out to him in episode
randomly
2,
talks to him,
again.
Something like that. Because otherwise, what was the purpose of that?
Well, to me, I believe they'll fight again. So that's when I think Qui-Gon will come into play.
Oh,
yeah. So I think Kenobi and Vader fight one more time.
I'll cry.
And it's a moment where Kenobi feels as though all is lost.
What if they did? Because they got him for Qui-Gon for Trials of the Jedi.
Right. So I see it to where Vader seems like, all right, this is it. I'm killing off Kenobi, and Kenobi's like, this is it. I got nothing else. And then Qui-Gon comes in, and he's able to give Obi-Wan enough to get past Vader. So I still see that being a thing next week, that we get Qui-Gon. So I think Qui-Gon still pops up next week.
I hope so.
Oh my god, that would be perfect.
I mean, because if not, why'd you start it off by showing him calling out to Qui-Gon?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it was supposed to mean something. That's weird.
Well, hopefully that hour and 33 minutes thing is true, because then a lot can happen. Oh god,
I'm gonna be honest with you. When Didge tagged me in that, the first thing I thought to myself was, that's a lot of time to fuck up a lot of stuff.
I was more worried than anything.
Well, I wasn't excited at all. I was like, that's a lot of rope.
Yeah, you say that, but then there's also going to be those people where it's it's too long. And but it's also the people that just complain about the runtime where it's everything felt so rushed.
Yeah, again.
You can't win either way.
If this was anything else, right? If you told me Moon Knight was going to be damn near 2 hours, sure, right? Told me Miss Marvel was going to be damn near 2 hours, sure. A story that I already feel as though you're dodging things, you now want to extend it? That's a lot of rope you're giving yourself. So by all means, you go ahead.
Now, if this is a soft pilot for the Vader spinoff, then different story.
We're all good. But again, the rumors out there.
Yeah, exactly what Didge said.
The rumors out there.
I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone else says. I will gladly watch the shit out of a Vader series if that's what I want. I don't care if the entire saga is his thing. I want a spin-off series of him being fucking ruthless as hell, because I know this show kind of gave us a little bit of that, but now that I've seen it,
I need it weekly.
I need it weekly, yes. I need it
weekly.
Fully.
I get enough Vader weekly, and I still want more.
Yeah, I'm like y'all saying weekly. I need that.
They're not going to show an episode every other day. So
I need it every other. I need it every second. All right, you dropped this one.
No, but that's because somebody was if you want that, you can read the comics. I do read the comics. I still want more.
Right?
Yeah, that's not.
There's still not enough.
That's not an ending.
You want to see it.
Yeah, that's not an ending.
That's the type of Vader I always want to see in live action. Now that I've seen ever since Rogue One, because Vader's always been ruthless, but they definitely held back in the original trilogy. But Rogue One showed you in his prime as ruthless as ever.
Old as shit.
And then
in the original trilogy. By that point, everyone was too afraid of Vader to try.
Every episode, I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, so, now by the time you get to episode 4. Vader had already fully established himself to where no one was willing to try him, so he didn't really.
Hayden literally said he would do it. So
yeah, he said he would love to.
Honestly, there's listen, you just can't lose with that. There's gonna be people who complain, but Vader's not always going to be a beloved character, so it's like it doesn't matter. It just adds more to the story.
Vader is the Batman of the Star Wars universe. You can put Vader anywhere, it will make all the money in the world. Always.
My two dramatic boys.
I was gonna say, look who you just said that to.
Right. And look, they both got beautiful ass capes. That's for damn sure.
That's what I'm saying. My dramatic.
Yeah.
They're king of dramatic.
Yeah, they get dramatic as hell. But look, the current rumor is A, season 2 of Kenobi, B, Reva gets her own series. I hope neither are true. But Trevon,
Reva or Vader?
Vader series instead.
Vader!
I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm saying that's not one of the
big
rumors.
Robot Mango Flash.
But Trevon, what's the biggest thing you want to see coming out of
weekly.
here? Yeah, I'm with you on that. But what's the biggest thing?
I would actually enjoy a Reva series more than the Vader one.
I'm fine with that, but
more than a
Vader Robot Man Flash.
I don't see a point of a Vader one. Like you just going around.
You see a point of a Reva one?
Yeah, let's see what she does.
I love her.
You saw what she does.
Let's see what she does now. Let's see what she does now.
Get her ass whooped again.
No, honestly,
Vader's gonna go find her.
If everything that didn't happen already with last night's episode, I would say like, oh, maybe like a spinoff for the Inquisitors, but no.
No, I will still take that, but Reva will never be an Inquisitor again. So I'm like, well, now just seeing Reva exist in the universe, hell no.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like before last night's episode, I would have said like, hey, let's get a like Inquisitor show, but like.
Right. Yeah, if you're telling me I get a series of Reva with the Inquisitors, like her whole come up and everything, I'm fine. Yes. Sign it off right now. But Reva not part of that, knowing that Reva can't be with Kenobi, I have no interest. No.
I have no interest.
I don't need an Inquisitor show because I feel like a Vader show.
You'll see Smash weekly. Let's go.
You'll see the Inquisitors in a Vader show.
Yeah. You
so
could.
I'm okay. I don't need an Inquisitor show
so
because that takes away from Vader show. We need Vader.
That's fair. That's
He's like, yeah, so, whatever.
Besides just a Reva show, Trevon, what else do you need to see coming out of next week?
It actually makes sense of Obi-Wan actually beating him. Because right now I don't see it at all.
You're not wrong.
Not even a piece. Not even a piece. I don't see it.
You're not wrong. But again, with Kenobi, the whole point of this episode was to tell you, as a viewer, that is Vader's weakness, his ego. So, again, it's not even I have to overpower him. I just have to outsmart him. And Kenobi's very good at doing that.
Did you see him use the Force from behind? Like, I was like, he has like a force field around him. I was like, come on. Like,
a king.
That's crazy.
That's
and
how
everything you're saying
goes to show like how much more confident he is now.
And everything you're saying, I want to remind you, at Anakin's apex, Kenobi did not overpower him. Kenobi did not outmaneuver him. He just outsmarted him. That was it. That was the only way he beat him. So I'm like, if he beat him the same way now, that's not a stretch.
His anger, and he used that.
He's not any better now. He's not any better now. So I'm like, again, it's not a stretch if you tell me he beats him mentally. If you tell me they're going sword to sword and Kenobi beats him, I'm with you. You're absolutely right. But if he just outsmarts him yet again, they built up to it. Makes sense.
They don't need a sword. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just,
I mean, Kenobi showed you in that flashback he didn't need a sword either. He borrowed Anakin's.
Yeah, he can't do that now though. That's not the same Kenobi.
Maybe.
Kenobi is very weak. Very weak.
I can tell you right now, Anakin at that point, Kenobi still shouldn't have been able to do that. But again, it's just outsmarting. It's not overpowering. It's just outsmarting. So to me, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I mean, it's no different than when you look at how the fuck does Lex Luthor beat Superman every day? He's just smarter than him,
because
right?
Superman's an idiot.
So he just outsmarts him. That's
a very good example. Actually,
just laser him, kill him.
He just outsmarts him.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he's like stronger.
Right, he's not stronger in any capacity. Not stronger, faster. He's
just one step ahead of him because he's smarter.
He's smarter though. That's usually always his thing. Joker can't fight to save his life. Batman should be able to beat the dog shit out of him. But what does Joker always have? A plan. He always has a plan. It always swerves something for Batman. So I'm like, it makes sense if mentally he can get the best of it, just not physically. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Trevon. I'm with you. But all right.
That's it.
But all right, guys, we got a big episode 6 next week. Big episode 3 for Miss Marvel.
I hope it's not. I hope it's not an hour and a half. I hope it's really short. I hope it's
and then we get
I don't need regular because I don't need.
I was about to say really short. I don't want it really short.
I don't care.
I don't need it really short either. I don't need you 25 minutes.
I hope that's true. I wanna watch Obi-Wan Kenobi the movie.
I might not be on here.
It was supposed to be a movie originally. Remember they?
It was, yeah. It was, yep.
That would
Trevon, you keep saying that like that's optional. You will be here if it's 2 hours.
Because I don't watch Kenobi until right before this. Because I watch everything else.
Well, that's fine. Well, then you're going to be donating time to watch this instead of everything
You'll
else.
donate time to watch
you'll
that.
donate time. It's okay. We'll figure that out. But please stay tuned. I think I'm going to try to get with Trevon and AJ maybe this Saturday to break down Young Justice, the full season of Young Justice.
See, I would join that, but I'm not finished the season yet. I didn't start it yet.
You didn't start it yet?
This is a good season for you.
No,
This
so
was
I
a
kept falling behind,
phenomenal
and I kept forgetting about it, and then I found out the new season, and I couldn't remember where I left off, so I have to just restart it. So I got Blake to start watching it with me from the beginning.
This season was phenomenal, and that cliffhanger. Fantastic.
I do know that what the cliffhanger is, though.
Oh man, what a cliffhanger! Goodness gracious!
Yeah, because somebody at work actually spoiled it, and I was like, oh my god.
But seeing it, when you see it, wait till you see it. But anyway, we got so much in store for you guys. Yes, yes, it was beautifully done.
It was a great season.
Yeah, and the only hint I'll give you is when you see it, you'll go, I completely forgot about all of you. Like, it'll be like, oh, you, wow, where have you been? You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those like.
Yeah, Blake only saw us 2 episodes. Wasn't really vibing with it, but I got him into it now. So
I saw clips of Joker, and I was like, "This show's not for me."
Definitely. Hey,
I'm giving it another shot. I know
you're
what
not
to
just
expect
giving
now.
it a shot.
To be fair, as much of the Bat family of the
why you lying? You like it now.
As much of the Bat family that they show, they don't really harp on Batman's Rogue Gallery that much. It's more so like your Vandal Savages, your Dark Sides, your bigger guys that they harp on. But yeah,
that's why it's great.
100%, no disagreement here.
So we're steal from Batman villains.
We will definitely be talking about that on GVN Talk for sure, because that. All right. So we got a lot coming you guys' way. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Last Scare podcast.
I think you understood what I was saying.
I did understand what you were saying. Very much so. We were here. We were right here.
You get me, Joanne. You always get me.
Make sure you guys tune in for the Last Scare podcast tomorrow. Jayla, Blake, and Sabrina. That's going to be a crazy good episode. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that.
Very excited for that.
Also, Didge, you guys got a brand new podcast this Friday, right?
Yep.
The Geek podcast. You guys are going to be going live. What's some of the things you guys are going to be talking about?
Probably Kenobi again. Our Stranger Things talk went long last time, so I gotta imagine we're gonna pick that back up. And whatever else comes up, we get very tangent filled.
I got to figure out a way to join one of those podcasts because when you slandered Vegeta, I knew I needed to.
I feel like that was a very fair statement.
Anime.
I believe that was disrespectful.
I was like, who?
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later, Didge. The disrespect you give Vegeta.
I feel like that was a very fair statement.
I believe the universe could not exist without the help of Vegeta every single time. So
that doesn't mean he's not. That doesn't mean he's the star.
He is the star.
All right.
Disrespectful. But no, make sure you guys check it out. I'll have the link for Geek in the description for you guys to check out. Make sure you guys check that out, please. And again, we will see you guys next Wednesday. A big episode 3 for Ms. Marvel, a ginormous episode 6 for Kenobi. So we'll break down all of it.
I can't believe it's over next week.
It's so depressing.
I'm so upset.
It's depressing.
Like, I literally waited years for this. Now it's like almost over.
I'm depressed and happy. I don't need these two shows to be on the same day.
I'll give you that. It's a lot. There's a lot of podcasting on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I need that to stop immediately. So I'm very happy. But again, can't wait to break it down.
I love it, but we could sacrifice her.
No,
I am not willing.
I'm kidding.
I'm not willing to sacrifice Miss Marvel, especially because I don't believe that the story of Kenobi has been good enough to sacrifice anything.
Okay, let's not get crazy.
and I'm not sacrificing Miss Marvel. Sorry.
Come on.
Not happening. Sorry. I love Kamala Khan. Sorry. I love her more than Kenobi. I'll say that. I do.
J1, you got to end the stream. She's going to come at you.
She's going to come through your monitor ring style.
I have no interest in lying. I'm not lying. Trevon
I'll
feels me.
pull a wand, I swear to God.
Trevon feels me. That's I feel good. Trevon feels me. There you go, Trevon. Let him know. Let him know Kamala's here to stay. But all right,
I actually
guys.
do love the show. I'm just kidding.
It's phenomenal, and it represents Jersey.
But Kenobi, I waited 17 years for Kenobi, so
I waited 17 years for more Vader.
Both good. I'm with Blake. Both good.
Both good. Be nice. Both good.
They don't give out 2 first place last time I checked. But anyway, I want to give a special thanks to JLo for putting together the stream, putting together the intro. JLo worked so hard to put together these streams. Thank you very much, JLo. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for the last scare and next week for MCR and Galactic Review. Till then, peace.